Blog Talk Radio.
This is Joe DiTaranto of the band War Machine. Check out our website at warmachineonline.com. You're listening to the Under the Sea Radio Show. For more info, visit underthesearadioshow.com.
Would you comfort me, or would you let me bleed these scars of fire?
Good evening over in Germany and in the United Kingdom, and it's afternoon here in North America, 4 p.m. Eastern on the east coast of North America, 3 p.m. Central, and where I'm at, it's 1 p.m. just after lunch hour. And today's show is part of the Learn How To series here on the Under the Sea Radio Show that features the co-host of the show, Mr. Ryan Burrows. How are you doing today, Ryan?
I'm brilliant, thank you, Willie. Thanks for having me on the show again.
And also on the show today is a very special guest from for the show from over in Germany. A wonderful, wonderful photographer. Her name is Ramona Osha. And how are you doing today, Ramona?
I'm pretty fine. Thanks for having me here.
It's wonderful to finally have you on our program, Ramona. And I think I will start this by saying macro photography and the aquarium. There are lots of small things that are in your aquarium. Various sizes of fish are in the aquarium, but when it comes to smaller animals such as shrimps, small killifish, and guppies, and all sorts of other types of fish, you need to get the right and correct shot, and Ramona is quite a good photographer, and she puts a lot of time into her photography. So without further ado, Ryan, the show is yours for now. I would like to ask Ramona any questions that I think is relative to the topic near the end. So, Ryan?
All right, well, thanks for coming on the show, Ramona. And first off, I'd like to ask, on behalf of Simon Cordy, how do you get the subjects, the fish, shrimp, whatever, to stay still, or, at least be able to get a picture of it without, flushing about everywhere?
I'm photographing a special photo tank, which I put the fish or the shrimp or whatever in. And this is a pretty small tank for smaller fishes, around 12 liters, 20, 30 centimeters. And this limits the space the fish can swim or the shrimp can run around, so you have them pretty close. And what is also important, to have a pretty thin glass in front, because glass, if you have a thicker glass, you have also much distortions in your picture, and to prevent this, I use the tiny tanks with a really thin glass.
Brilliant, thank you. Now, what lighting are you using in that show tank? Is it anything special, or is it, a special light to bring out the fish's colours?
I figured that for fish, it's better to use a dark gravel because they have higher contrast colors there. Fish adapt their colors pretty much to the environment. So if you have a dark gravel, the dark colors show up and they are more clear in the color and have more contrast. And for shrimps, I prefer a pretty bright, nearly white sand, because the shrimp always moves on the ground or on stones you put there, and the light reflects a little bit more from the bright sand, so you have better lighting on the picture then.
Okay. Now, is it better to have the flash on the camera or off?
I use the flash from above the tank, not the camera flash, an external flash, and it's more natural. If you flash in front, the camera with the camera flash, you will have reflections on the glass, and the light doesn't look very natural on the picture later, because if you go out, the light always comes from above, not from the front or from the side or anywhere else. So the picture looks more natural if you put your flash, an external flash. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. The cheap one does very well. Put it on top.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt just for a second here. Ken, are you online now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'm talking to Blog Talk because you're actually on the switchboard twice, and I thought you had hooked up a few minutes ago when the show started. Okay.
Oh,
so
sorry.
I'm trying to figure out why Ramona or Ryan, I cannot see their number on the switchboard. So this is what's happening. So you guys go ahead and continue.
Continue on, Ryan.
Okay. Now, with ISO, can you explain what an ISO is and how to use it? Which setting is best?
I use 100 in photographing with flashlight, and if I do something in the marine tanks where you want to bring the lighting of the tank a little bit more, I use 200, but not more.
Okay, and can you explain what an ISO setting is?
What an ISO setting is? It's the sensitivity for lighting of your camera. And with an ISO from 100, you have a really low sensitivity for light, so the picture will become pretty dark, but because of you use your external flash, it doesn't matter. Just raise the flash a little bit and everything is fine. With an ISO of 400 or something else, you will, of course, have a brighter picture with the same lighting, but you also get some noises, and we don't want them in macro photography.
Right, okay. Now, what fish would you say are the best subjects to photograph? Because obviously some are going to be better than others, I should have thought.
Siamese fighting fish. Really, when I have a workshop or something, I always pick 2 Siamese fighting fish, especially the half moons, to bring them there. They are very quiet. They raise all the fins and do their best. And they really stand still for a couple of seconds, so you have time to focus, time to put your camera, and time to think, and then you can shoot. Pretty hard are tetras and small barbs and stuff like this.
Now, is there a technique to taking pictures of barbs and tetras, things that move faster?
Yes, take more pictures. So they move so fast, you have absolutely no chance to focus them while swimming. You have to wait until they stand anywhere, and then you have to wait for the right direction and so on. So you really need to take a couple of shots to get one you are happy with finally. And for sure, they need time. Put them in the photo tank and give them time. They will first hide and swim around like they're totally crazy, and with the time they will calm down a little bit, and maybe you have a chance then. But of these fast-moving runners, I like to say I take 100 to 200 pictures to get 3 or 5 which are in a good quality.
Now, do you do anything to the fish themselves? Do you add any colour additives to their food or anything like that?
No, if you would add food to bring the fish in front of your lens, you will also have the food on the picture and small particles all around in the water. And this really pollutes the water, and it doesn't look good on the picture if you have all these small particles all around. So I have a small filter in my picture tanks also, and to keep it really clean.
Okay. I have another question from Simon Cordy. He wants to know whether it's better to have the lens against the glass or away from the tank.
What do you mean?
Well, shall he have the lens, the camera lens, on the glass front or away from the tank?
I have it in front, but you have to really keep an eye on that angle. You have from your camera lens to the glass. If you keep it in a 45-degree or whatever angle, you will have much distortions because the glass really do this. It's the biggest enemy in photographing aquarium stuff is really the glass. So you try to keep your lens parallel to the glass you are photographing through.
Okay, now is there a special technique to editing, or can anyone go on a program and start from there?
Digital editing afterwards?
Yes.
No. So I always shoot my pictures in RAW, not in JPEG, because you have the opportunity to correct something a little bit, like the aperture, or no, not the aperture, the lightening a little bit, or the white balance. But finally, I don't use any big editing stuff. If it takes longer than 2 or maximum 3 minutes to edit the picture to make it look good, I throw it away.
Okay. Now, if you was going to suggest a camera or a line of cameras to somebody, what would you suggest? Could you just get good pictures with an ordinary camera, or would you suggest they got a really good one and went from there?
No, for sure you can take good pictures with, not with any camera available. I wouldn't use a compact camera, but there are so-called bridge cameras or system cameras out which do pretty well. Yeah, it's a question of the budget you will have. So picking a pretty good camera or expensive professional camera didn't make your pictures better. You need to know how to use it. The camera alone doesn't make the picture. It's most on the photographer. So for sure a camera for 200 or 300 euros will make good pictures too. I started with the Fuji Finepix, and that's where it all comes from, and now I get a Canon 7D, which is pretty much better, but I took good pictures with the Fuji too.
And what is the difference with the cameras? Which makes them different to the others?
Yeah, it's about the lenses. If you have a DSLR, with you can change the lenses, and you have some more options with that changeable lens system. But also it is a lot more expensive, so it's a question how deep will you go into the photography and how much money will you put in it. Okay.
Now when taking pictures of fish, do you use a tripod or anything like that to hold the camera steady, or is it very much hold and click?
A tripod is a good choice if you photograph something you will know where it will sit, for shrimp, crayfish, snails and stuff like that, but a fish will act the way it wants to act, so it's better to keep the camera in the hand.
Okay. Now, which is your favourite lens to use for fish?
The Sigma 105mm is my preferred lens for photographing fish and also shrimps and other tiny things.
And when you started photography, what educated you about it, or did you learn on the job, so to speak?
What do you mean?
Well, did you teach yourself to take pictures of fish, or did you learn how to?
I started photographing fish because of my guppy breeding around 14 years ago. Guppy breeders are not so close to each other in Germany, so we all communicated about the internet and talked about our fish. And to talk about a specific fish, you need to show the fish for sure. And that's why I started, or why I first picked a camera and tried to photograph a fish. So it was not really because of the photography, it was more because of the guppy breeding.
What got you into guppy breeding, and why did you start taking pictures of them?
It was the same story like on every other guppy breeder. I think I had a guppy tank as I was a child, and that's where I started from. And then for sure you keep another fish later, and someday I came back to guppies and started breeding them. And yeah, like I said before, I photographed them to discuss the fish via the internet with other breeders in forums and stuff.
What is the one thing you wish you knew when you started taking photographs?
All. There was, as I started photographing fish, there was absolutely nothing you could read about it, so I had to figure it all on my own. And it took a pretty long time to figure this on my own. So what I wish to know would be a book available to read about this topic. So I think it could save me a couple of years.
Okay, Ken, do you have any questions?
I was just going to say, have you ever thought about writing a beginner book on photography?
Yeah, I talked to my colleague Chris Lookhaup about writing a book about macro photography, about fish and shrimp, and also some other things we photograph from time to time. Chris makes some awesome insect macros also. And yeah, we are thinking about writing a book for beginners.
Oh, that would be very interesting. Would it be in English too, would you think, or just in German?
No, we want to do it in 2 languages, like Chris do most of his projects, so we will do it in German and English.
Oh, very good. Now, just a question on your remote flash. Do you just have one, or do you use 2 on top of the tank?
No, I just have one, because I have these tiny picture tanks, and I need just one.
Right, okay. And is the angle important?
Yeah, you should make sure that the flash is a little bit in the back direction, so that it doesn't flash into your lens. But that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary, do you have any questions?
I do.
Go on then.
I have a question. I have a few questions, actually. Now, background, I know from taking photography in college is very, very important. Do you find yourself looking for a specific background color in regards to your photos, Ramona?
Yeah, sure. So I figured that bright green plants like Pogestemon helferi and stuff like that makes a much better picture than green dark plants do, like Anubias and stuff like that. It looks more fresh and more friendly if you have these bright green plants in the background.
I've noticed this in your pictures as well. A lot of people you see on various different sites that there is no background, and it actually causes a sort of like flash distortion in the back of their aquarium, and it's very, very hard to get rid of it. That in editing, and I agree with you 100%. If you spend more than 2 minutes in an editor, get rid of the picture. When you take pictures of, let's say, the magenta guppy that is on the Under the Sea radio show site for this episode, I noticed that you put it off to one side of the picture, and this is a part of the composition of your photos. Do you find you doing yourself more in that type of photography rather than having the fish dead center?
Yeah, sure. This happens naturally, so I don't think about it. I just keep my focus on the eye of the fish. This is very important. Whenever you photograph something which has an eye, you should focus on the eye. And that's why the fish is not this much centered mostly, but the pictures look a bit better, I think, when the fish have more space inside of the picture in the direction he swims or he's looking into.
So when you're inside your photo editing software, if you're going into it, what are your standard corrections? Are you cropping? Generally talk about the editing side of this, because digital photography, you're doing self-editing in a lot of cases. So I'd like to know your approach inside the photo editor when you are using it.
Yeah, what am I doing? I'm shrinking the pictures to post them in the internet because 5,000 pixels are a little bit too big. And resharp them. You have to do this if you shrink a picture. And what I do then is, if I have some particles swimming around in the water, in the background or somewhere else, I stamp them away. But not if they are in the fish. If they are in my motif I'm photographing, I throw the picture away and take another one. But in the background on a plant, some fuzzy stuff or so, I stamp it away. And that's it.
So you are not doing any sort of exposure type of fixing, like in contrast or anything else like that? You are actually getting that shot naturally?
Yes. The picture doesn't look very different if you see it directly from the camera. It's pretty much like that.
This is one of the points that is probably one of the key points in learning how to be a good photographer, is your composition and your exposure is direct on. And digital, you've got the game of knowing basically the factors involved in your exposure value. You're just using that to basically change the format and to sharpen up the shrinkage of the picture. You're not using it to correct anything. In website design, as a designer, I find myself having to do a lot of exposure corrections. And so this is one area where the photographer can actually help out the web designer. Is that not so, Ramona?
Yeah, that's the most important thing in taking a good picture is your light, right? Because without light, nobody can see something. Not the camera, not the human eye, and also a painter couldn't. So you should really know how to put your light, how much light you will need, and learn how to handle this properly. And yeah.
Ken, would you happen to have any questions about the topics that I talked about? I think that is actually a very, very good part of this subject for those that want to learn about this. Ken?
No, the answers are pretty very good and fairly self-explanatory. I'm just amazed at how good the photos are. I keep trying on my little camera and I get nothing like what Ramona gets, obviously. So would your advice for a beginner be just keep taking shots and try and get as good a camera as you can? Is that about it?
Like I said, it's not all about the camera. I know that it is it's the main thing that people ask for. What camera do you have? Oh, that's why you make those good pictures. But that's not true. It's all about it. The camera, it's about the light. It's about know how to set up a photo tank, keep it clean, clean the glass from inside, from outside, keep really clear water inside of the tank, so nothing with a yellow or water which is not really clear. And these are really important things which make a good picture. I often see some guys who say, hey, my pictures are not so good like yours. Can you tell me why? And then they send me some pictures and I see algae inside of the tank and some water stuff outside of the tank, so they even didn't clean the glass. So these are really important things. So maybe this takes a minute to set the tank up really, really good. And even if you don't have a picture tank, if you go to your tank and say, I want to make some pictures now, don't do this right now. Do a big water change, clean your glass, and do it tomorrow. You will have much better pictures then. So all these things are important, and you know how to put your camera, how to put your lens on the right angle to keep it really parallel to the glass, to get no distortions from the glass. And the rest is the light. And when you then say your pictures are even crap or something, then you should go for another camera.
Okay.
But I think really, I had a guy last week. I talked to him, and he wasn't pretty happy with the photos he took. And I told him to buy an external flash for €40. And to put his lens in a parallel angle to the glass. And today he sent me some pictures, and he was absolutely happy about the big improvement he made just with these 2 tips I gave him.
Excellent. What do you use to clean your glass so that you don't scratch it?
I use a sponge to clean it from inside and something, and from outside I use normal glass cleaner and paper.
And the soft cloth. All right. Okay.
And for sure I scratch them from time to time, and nearly once or any 2 years, if I'm really carefully, I have to buy some new ones.
Okay.
I have some more questions from Simon Cordy. He asks, for abstract shots, for shooting females, for example, are there any advantages or disadvantages in shooting black and white?
Shooting macros in black and white and monochrome. I tried this, but just in outdoor macros, if I photograph some leaves or something, nobody wants to see a fish in black and white, I think, because fish and shrimps and all those stuff, they live from their colors.
Okay. Now, for extreme close-ups of fish, such as killifish or small live bearers, how would you suggest someone does that? What are tips for really good close-ups?
First tip would be if you have changeable lenses or in DSLR or something, you can change lens. You should buy yourself some extension tubes. You put them between the camera and the lens, and what they do is just you can go closer to your objective you want to photograph, and this makes it even bigger for sure. And you have no lens inside of these extension tubes, so they won't change the look of your picture. So if you have a really good lens or a better lens, you even want not to destroy this clean, good look of it in adding some close-up lenses in front of the camera or something. So the extension tubes do pretty good and are not that expensive, and you can use a all-round lens, an all-round zoom lens for some macros with extension tubes also.
What about using a sort of middle of the range camera where adding a lens isn't so easy? What would you suggest someone does then?
I didn't really get it. There are some noises in the background. Can you repeat, please?
Sorry. What if someone had a middle of the range camera? Can it still be done, or is it going to be very difficult?
What do you mean? What kind of camera you should buy, or what's the question?
No, can you take extreme close-ups of killifish and live bearers with a middle of the range camera?
Yeah,
without
sure.
the posh lenses.
Yeah, sure. You can go close up with nearly any camera by adding some different things. If you can change the lens and add extension tubes, you can go for close-up lenses, and they wear screw in front of the lens. And but the difference is for sure the level of details you will have in the later picture. So with a better lens and better camera, you will have more details on your close-up than with a mid-range camera or something. But you can for sure do it and try it and just get some practice.
Would that work with a compact camera as well? Because obviously you can't add lenses or extension tubes to a compact camera.
In a compact camera, there are some magnetic close-up lenses you can put in front of the lens of the compact camera. So there's something that works pretty well. I have lately I was playing with my cell phone, and I do some shots with this as well. And I have an old close-up lens with +10 diopter, and I just put it in front of the cell phone lens with a rubber band and made some close-up with it. Works well.
Okay. Now, going back to when we were talking about black and white pictures, how would you take a picture of a black fish? Because surely that's got to have something different to it.
Yes, for sure. Black and white is the most difficult thing to photograph. Black is the same thing as white. I put the lighting always a little bit darker if you photograph a black fish, and you will also have or especially me with a 7D, but I also noticed this with other cameras. If you have a completely black fish like a black molly, you will really have trouble focusing this because the camera finds nothing to grab. So you will need to do this manual, and yeah, you need really to figure this out. When I start photographing a fish, I never photographed before. I took 5 or 6 test shots just with different settings, and then I look at them at the computer because you really can't judge a picture completely on the camera display. I watch them on the computer, and then I think what I could do better, and then I go for the second round. Okay.
Now, you mentioned manual settings. When you're taking pictures of fish in normal colour, for example, would manual settings be better than automatic, or?
I do it all manual all over the time. I never used, as I bought my Canon and they were delivered, I put the wheel on the manual settings and I never changed it again because there's nothing much you have to change. If you have your photo tank, you have your flashlight, and you have nearly the same settings, and you will correct them sometimes a little bit, but I do it all manual because I want to create the look of my pictures. I don't want that the camera does this randomly.
Okay, thank you. Is it a better time to take pictures of fish, like morning or the evening? When are they showing their best colours?
for the best colors of your fish, you should first do the manual white balance. This is pretty important. Most people go with the automatic white balance, and really the best camera didn't do it correctly. So you need to do it manually, and it's important to give the fish time and observe him when he's ready to shoot. Some fishes you put in there and they will stay in best colors and spread their fins and looking awesome. And sometimes I had fish which were in the picture tank for around a week to adapt there and getting colorful. So it's all about patience.
Okay. And is there any way you can prepare a fish for the show tank? Can you, use natural props to put it in place? Or like, more for shrimp, for example. Can you move shrimp around with sticks to get that perfect shot?
I have a paintbrush, a pretty soft paintbrush to move the shrimp a little bit, but it belongs to the shrimp. Some shrimps you really can push with the brush in exactly the direction and the posing you want them, and some are extremely scared and will flee and hide. So you need to know your fish a little bit. So if you have some scary guys like tetras and barbs, I really wouldn't add any pressure on them. But if you have some pet fish like Siamese fighting fish or guppies or guys like this, you can really influence them a little bit. But just a little bit. It is belongs to the fish how he interprets what you are doing or what you want him to do.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, if you was using aquarium lighting and not a flash, would it be best to have the lights off in the room?
Yeah, I really just use the aquarium lighting for shooting if I shoot the whole tank, if I photograph the whole tank, and then I turn off all the other lights in the room. Also the TV and computer monitors and stuff like this, any other light should be off. So you have no reflections on the glass.
Now, how can you overcome some reflections even though you've not got the lights on or no flash? Sometimes you're always going to get reflections from the glass. Is there any way to overcome that?
I'm not sure if I get you right. What do you mean?
I'll answer that one, Ryan. With the flash that she's using, it's above the aquarium. It's not directly on the camera, so the light has got no way of bouncing back off the front or back glass.
All right.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. Like I said before, I put the flash so that it flashed straight from above into the tank, so you have no reflections inside or outside of the glass. And that's exactly the reason why I use this flash. First, it is pretty strong. Almost every camera internal flashes are too weak to photograph in aquariums. And the second thing is because of the reflections.
Okay. Now, completely different subject, but taking pictures of tanks as opposed to fish, is there anything different you do to take a picture of the tank itself? Or is it exactly the same as you do for the fish, just a bigger lens?
No, it's totally different. I use absolutely no flash, and I use a tripod for sure, because you have a much longer shutter time to get this picture done, turn off all the other lights, and that's it. And
okay.
for sure make it parallel again, so between the lens and the front glass.
Okay, I've got another question from Simon Cordy. He asks, when he takes pictures of killifish, sometimes they disturb the peat base they're on, which obviously blurs the picture. Is there a setting he can use to stop the blur from the peat flying up?
Not really.
Okay. So there's no sort of setting you could mention that would get rid of the blur, that would stop blur at all?
Can you repeat, please?
Sure.
What?
Is there a setting on the camera you can use, like a sports mode or something, to stop blur occurring? You know, when a fish swims around, he's going to kick up to the peat moss.
Yeah.
I think I know where to take this one. If you've got a problem understanding the question, I'll let you answer and then I'll add to it.
Yeah, I have some I don't know why, but he's not very good understandable for me here. So yeah, there is no way to get the focus in this speed to get a swimming fish focused. Maybe if it swims parallel to the glass, you may go with it and try to focus him. And sometimes you have also a luck shot. But there's absolutely no camera or camera setting which can focus this quick like the fish moves.
Basically, Ryan, what it's got to do with is the speed of the shutter and the ISO. So you would have to bump down the ISO to about 50, and that would make the shutter speed faster, but it makes it a really, really tough shot to actually get enough light. So you'd have to intensify the light of the subject, because the wider the ISO is, the more light you're adding to basically what would be known as film if you're doing it in film. So it's the same sort of idea in ISO settings for digital cameras as well.
Okay. Is it best to take fish into a picture tank always, or is there specific fish that shouldn't be taken out of their tank?
Is there a specific fish? No, there's no specific fish, because I always add the water the fish wants. So I don't have this water in the picture tank and the fish has to deal with it. So I make it comfortable for the fish. And for sure, if I had shot some fishlets, and these tough guys are pretty scared if you put them in a picture tank. They need a lot of time to acclimate and to show up, but they do.
Okay, what about fish that are very sensitive to moving, like pencilfish, for example? You know, if they get a big enough shock, they can just die on the spot. How would you overcome that problem?
Yeah, I always take care of my models. I never kill the fish while shooting or because of I shot him. So I make sure I have best water quality and exactly the water parameters the fish wants. And I clean up the tank regularly after I shot the fish. I totally put it all out and disinfect it and so on, and nothing happened to my models ever.
That's good then. Now, you say you like taking pictures of fighter fish. Is there a specific line-bred form, like the veil tail or the half moon, that makes better pictures?
Yeah, for the beginners to get practice in photographing, I really would recommend a slow-moving fish like half moon betta or something, because it's a much better model. He stands there and you have really time to make your picture. If you have barbs or tetras, you really need to be fast and you really need to know what the fish will do next. That you need some kind of fish sense or something. To be prepared, and I would really recommend a slow-moving fish or a guppy or platies or something. There are pretty nice guys in photography.
Okay. I've got another question from Simon Cordy, and I think Willie will like this one. What's the best setting is taking photographs in a public aquarium to avoid images bouncing off the glass?
Public aquariums are a tough place to make good photographs because I was in a sea life center a couple of months ago and I went out with absolutely no picture. The glasses are pretty dirty. Little children hands are grabbing on it. It's okay that the children does this, is awesome, but for a photographer it's worst case. And you also have mostly the glass is pretty scratched from inside. So just keep trying. If you have some luck and find maybe a just opened public aquarium, you should go there and try to get some pictures. The glass will be new and usable. But it's all about luck there.
Okay, thank you. Willie, do you have anything to add on to that?
Well, I know for the fact what Ramona was referring to, fingerprints and water marks on glass and stuff like that. It's very, very tough to get indoor shots of anything behind glass because of all of the factors involved. You're not at control. When you are a photographer like Ramona, she's basically setting herself up for the shot. So when you're taking photography shots for any purpose, especially if you're wanting to use them to express even the fish that you keep, you've got to take the time to figure out the shot, do research. Aquarium photography is a very, very hard subject, but you work around the ideas of what can reflect. So when you think of the color black, it does not reflect. When you think of the color white, it will reflect. So in regards to a background for a photo tank, don't use white. You'll get a lot of extra light just by using white, but if you're using a black fish, it'll make the black fish stand out. Think of the subject matter in which you're taking a picture of is probably the best point here.
All right, okay, got it. Thank you. Now, Simon has asked another question. He said he likes photographing crabs and lobsters at a public aquarium. Now, we've gone over the part of the dirty glass and what have you, but as the crabs and lobsters like to hide a lot, how would you take a picture of something that's hiding in a dark place?
Crayfish. They are. I also keep crayfish here, and when I photograph them, I break my own rules and I feed them. It's the best way to get them out.
But that isn't possible in a public aquarium. Is there any way of bringing them out in a public aquarium? Is there a way you could focus your flash on a specific area?
Not really. If you have to flash straight into the wherever he's hiding, you will have bad reflections. You could try to put the lens on the glass directly, so and try to photograph then. But this is something you really need to try out when you are there. How you have to deal with.
I have a little bit of a tip for that subject. Set up your ISO for a lot of light to come in, like a lot of the detailed flash work that Ramona does is with 100 ISO. You might want to turn up your ISO to about 800 to 1600. It will make the picture grainy, but at least you will get the image in the shot.
Right, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, Ramona, Simon asked if you'll be able to put some pictures up on the Under the Sea radio show group of the crayfish, because he loves them very much. He's a great fan of the crayfish.
What do you mean?
Well, can you put some pictures up on the Under the Sea Radio Show group so everyone can see them?
Yeah, some crayfish pictures. Yeah, sure.
Okay, like that then. Now, do you do anything different to take pictures of crayfish as you would fish?
Yeah, I use on crayfish, crabs, and other on the gravel moving creatures. I use a bright sand because of the lightning. It will reflect from the bottom, and you have a much better lightning then. And I let them adapt there. I put a stone mostly inside of the tank, and I hope that they will sit down on the stone. Sometimes I have stones lying in a tank with much lightning, so some algae growing on the stone, and then the crayfish or the shrimp will sit down there and pick whatever it finds there, and try to make it comfortable. And if it doesn't work, crayfish are really scary guys. Sometimes really it helps to get them some food, full developed artemia or something like this, what they really would like. Or a crushed snail will do well also.
Okay, sorry, Ken, you here? Right, okay, Mary, I think Ken's been disconnected. He's been trying to speak, but he can't.
It shows that, okay, let me see if this is Ken. Ken?
Yeah?
Okay. It shows that you're still on the phone here, so I'm going to hang up on the 661 number, okay?
Okay.
All right. There you go, Ken.
Hello?
There you go.
Ramona?
Hello, Ken.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Ramona, are you still there?
Oh.
I think you hung up on her.
No, her number never showed up on the switchboard, which is what Blog Talk was looking at, but we weren't going to mess with it because it was working just fine, okay?
Oh, okay. I know that they've been having technical problems here on Blog Talk. Well, I found today's talk very, very interesting, Ryan. So, due to the fact that I've had a little bit of college courses in photography, do you have any other questions that you might have about aquarium photography?
Well,
actually, I've got one, Willie, if I could.
Sure.
You know how I particularly like rainbows? Some of them are highly reflective on the sides. How would you go about taking a shot of, say, Melnitania Kamaka, which are a silver colour and notoriously hard to take a photo of because they're so reflective?
I would not worry about the reflection of the light off of the fish, especially if you're using a flash from on top. That would be natural color of the fish itself. A lot of this is not the lighting on the camera; it's the lighting outside, or the aquarium lighting itself. It is more of an issue in regards to aquarium photography. It's sort of like when you take pictures in iridescent lights, underneath iridescent lights, your shot turns green. Have you ever noticed that? Either one of you, when you take a shot with your camera and there's a green kind of shade to it? That's
I have seen that occasionally.
That is because of the type of light source. A lot of photography is basically working with light and how it exposes now on the digital sensor instead of film. Now, the advantage of digital photography for everybody is, you heard Ramona say, well, I take tons of photographs. In film, it gets very, very expensive to take a lot of those shots, and that's how come photography has improved, I would say 100%, from the times that we were using film cameras in this industry to the times where we're using digital technology now. Is the use of the light and the use of what I would call contrast. When you have got a white or a glass background, it makes it tough for any fish to show up in a shot, and it looks really, really bad. You see the black back of the aquarium. You can see right through the aquarium. You got to think of the subject that you are taking the picture of in regards to the shot. In that regard, so I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Could we ask and see if Ramona's back on?
Sure.
Ramona, are you back? Hello? Okay. All right. I don't think she is, so carry on, man.
So, Ryan, any other question?
No, but Simon says that the show was fantastic. Thank you very much.
There we go. And I want to thank Ramona for phoning in. She has got a real style to her photography. And it is, I want to back up the way that she does her photography 100%, because she thinks in the way of the contrast. When she was talking about taking pictures of shrimp, she was saying, I use a white gravel. It automatically offsets the animal's color on the thing. If you are taking a picture of a black fish, the best background is something that is actually going to be something that gives it contrast in the background. A lot of what makes Ramona's photography is the use of plants and the type of gravel that she uses in her shot. And a lot of photography is composition. Get what you want in the picture. So therefore you're focusing on what you want in the picture. Don't think about how you're going to crop that picture. Don't think about what is involved. Because as soon as you crop a photo, it becomes smaller. So you're dealing with a playing field. So it's something that I learned in my college class in Mount Royal College in Calgary. I took the photography class in regards to film. The film industry is still not using digital cameras per se in their industry yet. It's not big enough yet. The cameras are not made for that. They're still shooting a lot of films in film, but they're using digital enhancements and digital programming when they come to making DVDs, et cetera, That is the transference of analog to the high definition. We're just getting into high definition around now, and that's how come the switch has come over to TV. So I want to thank everybody for being on the show, and Ryan, you get to wrap things up. What do you want to say to people that listen to the Learn How To series with you and Ken Boorman?
Well, I'd like to thank everyone coming on again. It's a great show. Quite happy with this one. And to the listeners, I know one of them loved the show. So there you go, Simon. Hope you enjoyed it. And hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. It was good fun. So I'd like to thank everyone.
Kim Boorman?
I think a lot of people will take away that the best way to take good photos is to take lots of photos. Just practice. That's what I'm going to be doing. And hopefully I'll learn from my mistakes and get better at it.
And the more practice that you do, the less work that a website designer has got to work with in regards to images that are given to him, because, as Ramona said, I shrink the picture, I sharpen it a little bit. That's easy. It's when you're trying to get rid of blemishes, flaws, reflections, it becomes a lot harder. And at times, think about what you are doing for your own photos. You want to have the best photo possible. So educate yourself on photography, people, and thank you for listening to the Learn How To series show on Learn How to Understand Macro Aquarium Photography. And good night, everybody over in the UK and Germany. Good night, everybody.
Brought to you by WM Aquaculture. Let's dive right in the tank and see what's swimming around today.